What's up, everybody? Welcome back for another episode of the Fit 40 podcast. For those of you tuning in on the Fit 40 family, welcome to. I know you guys are going to get a lot out of this. There's going to be all the visuals and everything in the group. So if you're listening on the podcast and you want to see everything that I'm talking about, because there are a few charts I'm going to be showing, get your butt in the Fit 40 family, because not only that, it's an awesome place, super supportive community, and we're currently running a challenge right now. So if you're a fan of monthly challenges, daily tips, and weekly trainings just like this, again, get your butt in there. All right, today's topic is going to be all about how to exercise for fat loss. So what we're going to be covering today is, number one, why the heck should you exercise? There's all these products and services out there that promote, oh, lose weight without exercise. And it sounds great, but what is the deal with that? We're going to go over it. Okay. Next is what kind of workouts you should be doing if you want to burn the most body fat, and then what you can expect when you do it right. So let's start with the why. Now, why should we exercise? The big reasons are: one, you burn a higher percentage of body fat. Every time you lose a pound, it's always a percentage of lean body mass and fat mass. Now, lean body mass is things like muscle, bone, pretty much everything that is not fat. And then fat mass is obviously fat. Now, when you don't exercise, then these aren't exact numbers, but it's closer to a 50-50 split. So you lose a pound, half of that is lean body mass, half of it is fat mass. And then when you work on building muscle, for example, or just being active in general, and it causes you to build muscle, the fact that you're building means that you're not losing any. So basically, it goes from 50-50 to like 99.999% of that weight being lost is fat. So if you want to burn the most fat in the quickest amount of time, exercise is the way to go. Next is better metabolic health. And sometimes you hear it in the bodybuilding circles, or old school nutrition people will be like, you got to earn your carbs. And there is a little bit of truth to that, because the more muscle that you have, the more bone that you have, things like that, but more specifically muscle, the better you are with your insulin sensitivity. So you can handle more carbs, put them to use in the right way, instead of storing it as predominantly body fat. So next is improved cardiac health and joint health. So as you exercise, we know it improves your heart health in whatever version that you do, whether it's weights, whether it's cardio. Even though cardio, cardiac, kind of the same, you still get cardiac benefits from strength training as well, and pretty much any exercise you do. And then joint health, because one, muscle helps a ton with supporting joints, and two, when you weigh less, if your goal is to lose body fat, then you are going to have a lot less pressure on those joints in general. Next is you can eat more while you diet, because your body requires more calories to support that activity. So if you're exercising, you can get away with eating more than people that don't. This is why you see these fitness people on Instagram and stuff like that, where they're like, how it's like a 140-pound female, and they're saying, this is how I burn body fat eating 2,500 calories a day. Meanwhile, you're stuck at 1,200 and you're like, what the hell? This sucks. Okay, this is why. Or they might be lying too, but we won't go there. um, and then last but not least is that you're more likely to keep the weight off. When they survey people who have lost a significant amount of weight and they've kept it off for years, pretty much across the board, they all exercise in one way or another. So exercising consistently and finding a way to do it for years and years and years, preferably in a way you enjoy, is the name of the game. So how do you do that? There's a bunch of different ways to exercise. There's walking and cardio. So if you are just starting, walking is one of the best things that you can do, because if you're starting from square one, you have some body fat, you feel very, very out of shape, just going for a walk, if that's challenging for you, you're going to see some incredible benefits. You don't have to go crazy and jump in the group class and kill yourself day one if walking is enough of a stimulus. So you can literally just go for a walk for 10, 20, 30 minutes. If you're a little bit out of breath by then, and you come back and then you do it the next day and you're a little bit less out of breath, you can guarantee you're making positive adaptations. You're probably getting a little bit stronger. Your heart health is probably getting a little bit better. So it's really, really good. And then if you can progress that into a run or a ruck or a hike or anything like that, that's incredible. There's group classes. You can do Orange Theory, you could do F45, Burn Boot Camp, all that good stuff, because that's also a really good way to ensure that you're going to show up. I know I'm super duper proud of my girlfriend right now because she's an Orange Theory fiend right now, getting up at like 5 a.m. to go. And it's the most active I've ever seen her. And she's super thrilled about the results she's seeing. And that's because like we'll be hanging out and she'll be like, I don't want to get fined $15 for missing the class. And I'm like, hey, if that's what gets you to go, awesome. So if you're that type of person where it's like, okay, I don't want to lose that 15 bucks, or you have a really good rapport with the instructor and you're like, Ashley's expecting me. I really want to see her today. Like that connection can make a big, big difference. And then there's strength training, which is what we call the most optimal. The reason for this is because when it comes to walking and cardio, as great as they are, they plateau really fast when it comes to building muscle. And building muscle is really the name of the game when it comes to trying to burn body fat for the reasons that we mentioned. And then group classes are awesome too. They don't plateau as fast, but they eventually do, because if you notice, all the group classes kind of cap their weights usually. Some of them are getting much, much better with that. I know what was it, Burn Boot Camp, one of my clients does, and she said that they have up to like 75 pounds. And I'm like, hell yeah, there we go. So if you have something like that, then awesome. But a lot of them stick to like the heaviest you can go is usually 20, 30 pounds. And you're limited on things like time, your grip, your fatigue, as far as like just never getting a rest. So those things taken into consideration, just know that there will be a plateau eventually. And that's when you need to progress if you want to keep seeing results. If you're cool with where you're at and it just keeps you consistent and you're happy with it, by all means, keep doing your group class. But if you want to keep progressing and making, building more muscle, burning more body fat, then strength training is the way to go. And if you want to do strength training from the start, you totally can, because it's the most modifiable and the most scalable for beginners to advanced, because you can strength train literally just by doing some push-ups on your kitchen counter or the top of your couch, or sitting down and standing up from a chair 10 times. Like that counts as strength training. It really doesn't have to be like getting a barbell and grunting and screaming. So we'll talk more about that. Now, when it comes to strength training, or let's say you're in a group class that does have those weights, ideally we want to pick one where you can get about around that 1 to 3 repetitions short of technical failure. So if your class tells you, okay, we're going to be doing 10 of these, then try and find a weight that you can do for like 12 or 13 repetitions, but you stop at 10. Now, my personal favorite thing to do, if that's too much, because honestly, a lot of beginners have no idea where technical failure is. Now, technical failure, to back up, is that point where you're no longer able to physically do another rep. You're not in bad pain, but you physically cannot do another rep. You have no gas left in the tank, and your body doesn't let you do it, but it's a good thing. It's not like a bad, like, oh, my joint hurts type of pain. It's, I just don't have anything left. Now, for beginners and for even intermediates that really haven't been training that long, I love the double up rule because it makes it super simple. Now, again, when it comes to group classes, like they're probably not going to run it like this, but if you're training, like doing strength training for yourself, then you can do this and it works really, really well. So for the double up rule, the general idea is that you have a range, a repetition range. So in this example, as you see on the screen, for those of you that are in the Fit40 family or you're watching on YouTube, okay, we're working with a rep range of 5 to 10. So right here, you see 5 repetitions for all the first 3 sets. And then on the 4th set, we have 10. The goal is to stay within that rep range. And then when you can get double the repetitions, you go heavier in weight. So for example, here, week 1, say you're doing squats and you grab 15 pounds and you're able to do it for 5 repetitions on the first, 5 repetitions on the second set, 5 on the third, and then on the fourth, you're able to do 10. Awesome. That means we're going up in weight. Now, if you were able to do 15 repetitions, or sorry, 15 pounds for 10, you can easily do 20 for 5, because in all honesty, 5 pounds is a difference of like 2 to 3 repetitions, and you're doing 5 less. So this should be easy. You're probably going to be able to do more than 5. So you do it again. You do 20 pounds for 5 repetitions, 20 for 5 on the second, 20 for 5 on the third. And then on that last one, you go for 10. And if you get it again, awesome. Next week, you go up 5 more pounds, and you follow that again and again. And then on that last set, let's say you've hit that point where you're like, okay, I can't get 10. So you get 8. Great. You do the exact same weight for those 5 repetitions on the first set for this next week, 5 on the second, 5 on the third. And then on that last set, you did 8 last week. This week, try and get 9 or 10. If you get 9, awesome. Then do the same thing and try and get 10 the next week. And then when you get 10, you go up 5 more pounds. Catch my drift? Now, you can play around with this. I personally, when it comes to client programs, I the way I write them out, it's usually repetition ranges of 4 to 8, 5 to 10, or 6 to 12, depending on what type of exercise it is. So feel free. If you enjoy higher repetitions, go for 6 to 12. But if you like the lower repetitions and anything that's double digits feels like cardio, then go for 4 to 8. Or if you like that sweet spot, 5 to 10 is great too. Now, when it comes to the soreness factor, this is my biggest gripe when it comes to the group classes because they change it so frequently that it causes unnecessary soreness because you can get sore just from doing new movements. If I were to go on a long jog right now, which I haven't done in forever, I would be sore as hell. Does that mean I made progress? No, it just means I did something new. Um, and then it could also come from using heavier weights. So this is like that week one effect where you do, or week one would be more doing new movements, but this would be like a couple weeks in where you're doing the same program, you're increasing your weights, and every time you use heavier, you might feel a little bit sore. Or if you do an extra round, if you're doing like a circuit and you're like, awesome, I got 10 minutes, I'm going to do as many as possible. You do 3 one week and then you do 4 the next. That next week, you might be a little more sore because you did a little bit more work. The next is more reps for the first time. Same concept. You're just doing more, and your body's like, okay, this is new. And then trying a different tempo. So if you've ever done really slow on the way down and then fast on the way up, or slow on the way down with a pause and then slow on the way up, anything like that where it messes with the natural flow, I guess you could say, where you go up, down, where you're intentionally stopping or slowing down, that will make you sore. I guarantee it. But it's a great way to learn form. I'm not saying to avoid it. It can be very, very beneficial. Just know what you're getting into. How sore should you be? Now, if done correctly, you're going to be a little bit sore. It's going to happen. It's a byproduct. It's not a goal. But that being said, we want to have good expectations of what we can expect. So first, let me just say, if done correctly, 1 to 2 days max. That's as much soreness as you need. If you're doing a leg day and you're debilitated for the entire week, you overdid it. You outshot your recovery. Okay. Week one of a new phase sometimes will last a little bit longer. So just a heads up, if you go past that 1 to 2 days and you overshot it on that first week because you're still getting used to the program and you're guessing on the weight and you're still figuring it out, that can happen. So week one, do your best. But if it goes 3, 4 days, just know I probably overdid it, but your body's going to adapt and you could probably do the exact same amount of work and then expect that 1 to 2 days of soreness. And based on the fact that you are now only sore for 2 days instead of 4 or 5, that's progress. Now, one thing to note, if you are chronically sore, it's not a good thing. It will get you subpar results and it'll possibly get you injured. If you find yourself less sore doing the same amount of work, like I just mentioned, then that's a really, really good thing because it means you're building lean muscle. It means you're growing denser bones. So let's say you don't want to go up in weight, but that same amount of weight that you've been using from the start, when you started with it, it was really, really hard. And now it's really easy. That's what we're talking about. So if you do a group class and a couple of weeks in, you're like, wow, I'm really getting used to this class. I was dead on day one, but now I feel really, really good. You probably built lean muscle and you're probably growing denser bones, and your cardiac health is probably in a better place because you're able to do it without feeling like you're so winded. Okay. So something to keep in mind. It's not about how much you can do. It's about how much you can do and fully recover from. If you recover like crap, you haven't earned the ability to work harder because the equation when it comes to skipping here, the equation we want to think about is adaptation. So adaptation results when you put work and you put in recovery. So work plus recovery equals adaptation. And that adaptation is building muscle, building bone, improving your cardiac health, all the things we just talked about. If you only do the work and you don't recover, then you're just beating your body up over and over and over again. You're probably tanking your hormonal health. You're probably going to end up really doing some damage as far as your joint health. So recovery is super freaking important when it comes to your sleep, eating properly, hydrating, all that stuff matters. but I won't ruin the surprise because we're going to talk more about that in the next couple weeks. Um, Cardio. So when it comes to cardio, we want to really be intentional with what we do. And this is in the name of fat loss. Like if you have cardio goals, like say you're running a marathon and all that stuff, and it's performance based and you're not trying to burn body fat, then you can do more than I'm talking about because you're going to be able to eat more calories and you should be eating more calories to sustain that activity. But if we're trying to burn body fat, we're restricted to a certain budget of calories, and we got to be very mindful of where we put our energy and how fatigued we get. So when it comes to HIIT, that's going to be like during your strength workouts. If you're in group classes, you can pretty much count that as like HIIT. Or if you're doing a true HIIT session, it should only last 5 to 10 minutes because it should be all out effort. Most people do HIIT for 45 minutes or an hour, and their group class tells them they are, and they're not really doing high intensity interval training to the degree that it was meant to be. So just know that when you do HIIT classes and things like that, that should count as a workout, not as cardio. And cardio we want to do on the off days so that we recover better. And the way that we do that is through like zone two. So zone two is one of my favorite. It's low intensity, steady state stuff. And it's a really good recovery tool because one, it's really good for cardiac health again. And two, it's low fatigue. So you're able to do it. And when you're done, you feel really good. You don't feel like, oh, I just did a hard workout. So for anybody who's wondering what the heck is zone two, basically any cardio, any machine you want to do, running, swimming, jogging, whatever, anything you can do where your heart rate stays in around that 55 to 65% of your max heart rate. And if you want a really shorthanded way of guesstimating what your max heart rate is, just take 220 and minus your age in years. So that's take that and then 55 to 65% of that. But if you have a device that tells you your max heart rate or it even tells you the zones, just know you're aiming for that zone. And then long distance running is also fine. Like if you do choose to do long distance for your zone two, it's totally cool as long as it's low fatigue and it doesn't affect your upcoming workouts because your strength training workouts are going to be your bread and butter when it comes to fat loss. You want, or your group classes, you want to make sure that those are the prime drivers and those are, you're seeing improvement. The other stuff is filler. So just know those group classes, the strength training workouts, those are the main dish, and then the cardio is the side dish. So when it comes to daily activity, like if you want to just do something that's maybe not zone two and you want to do something that keeps you active and recovers in between, it helps you recover in between. Here's some other good ones. So you can do trigger workouts where you do really light weights or light bands and just kind of focus on getting a pump. You could do a mobility routine. There's a ton of really good ones on YouTube. Zone two, obviously, restorative yoga or Pilates. Like again, the low fatigue versions of that are totally cool. Low intensity activities like hiking, kayaking, gardening, and chores that are not super intense. Now, if you're moving furniture and stuff, I would honestly count that as a workout. Or if you're gardening for like 5, 6 hours, that would probably count towards like a workout because that's a lot of activity and a lot of fatigue built up. But if you're doing like a 30-minute doing the dishes or you're outside planting a few things for 30 minutes to an hour, not a big deal. I wouldn't count that. That's low fatigue. Or you could just get your steps, just focus on getting your daily step count. And that's also a really good daily activity in between your workouts. Now, here's what you can expect. These are I grabbed a couple of charts from two of my clients right now that I thought were really good examples of this. Now, anybody watching that can see this chart that I'm showing, what we have here is our next phase results. Now, when I work with clients, every 8 weeks or every 8 to 12 weeks, we meet up and we go over the numbers and see what the progress is looking like. And we measure the neck, waist, and hips and body weight. And when we can do that, we are able to generate numbers that'll give us an idea of the body fat percentage, body fat mass that was lost, and lean body mass that was gained. Now, if you want to do this for yourself, I'm going to put the link to the calculator that we use in the description, in the show notes, wherever the heck you're watching. You just scroll down and you can find it. But this is what you can expect when you do workouts like this, like the strength training workouts, or you do your group classes and you just stay consistent with it, along with making sure that we're eating the right amount of calories and our food choices are as best as we can manage. So, Kristen here, within the last phase, okay, that was, like I said, 8 to 12 weeks. Okay, she lost about 0.8% of her body fat. Now, I know everybody listening is probably like, that's not that much. Well, guess what? We weren't even dieting. We have her calories at maintenance right now, and she still lost body fat. So even if you are not perfect with your calories, even if you're eating a little bit extra, exercise helps, because look at this: body fat mass that she lost was about 0.8 pounds. So about a whole pound of body fat was lost, and she gained about 2 pounds, or 1.8 technically, of lean body mass, of muscle. So even if you are not dieting and your goal is to maintain, like we are here with Kristen, we're reversing and we're adding calories in, you can still burn body fat. Now, this is over the course of, we're coming up on a year of working together. This is the overall difference. So about 15% body fat down. She lost about 22.8 pounds of body fat and gained about 16.8 pounds of lean body mass. But on the scale, it only showed 6 pounds lost. This is why these measurements matter, and it can really, really help keep you on track. Because imagine if you were only going by the scale and you're like, "Oh, I only lost 6 pounds in a year." I would be pissed. But now that we have these numbers, you can keep yourself motivated and you can see that your efforts are paying off. Now, this is one of my newer clients, Jamie. Now, all of these are exactly the same because this was our first next phase call. But basically, in our, what was it, 8 weeks? I believe it was 8 weeks. She lost about 5.8 pounds, which is great. Now, people are like, "Ugh, pound a week. If I don't do that, what's the point?" Well, let's take a look. Body fat percentage went down 4.4%. That's huge. And she lost about 11.3 pounds of body fat and gained about 6.1 pounds of muscle. So, again, only lost 6 pounds, but you actually lost 11 of body fat. So, very important to note here. All right. Now, this is just on the surface what it should look like as far as exercise is concerned. Now, if you want to get a little bit more of what we're talking about, you want to participate in the challenges and really get all the in-depth tips and trainings we do every single week, I would highly recommend joining the Fit 40 family if you're not already in it. It's a whole lot of fun. We're running a protein challenge right now. Everybody's super hyped, tons of engagement. I'm loving it. And yeah, highly recommend it. And if you want to take it a step further, I would recommend signing up for a strategy call. I do these for everybody in the Fit 40 family. Okay. It's 100% free. I guaranteed no sales pitch. This is not a sales call. It's literally just so I can help you implement what we're talking about so that you can get really, really good results. If you want to talk about coaching, great. We can set up a different call for that. But this is 100% for you so we can individualize your roadmap, talk about what you need to do, and I can calculate your macros and your calories and all that good stuff while we're on the call. So if that sounds good, again, that link will be in the description, in the show notes, wherever the hell you're watching, in the group. I'll put it in the comments and you can sign up for that.